Lucky people. I'm reading the help. So it's so much fun to talk in Southern that I just read it out loud because it reminds me of my youth. Joe, you're not smiling. It's so much fun. I'm like, they didn't say that right. That's not the way they said that. They said it without the S. You know, I mean, it's cute. But anyway. It's a pleasure to be here this morning again, and in the last few months I'm reaching a new level in my evolution, and it's welcome. It's very welcome. My higher self is talking to me louder and more clear than ever before. And so now I have these lovely metaphors that come to me spontaneously, and I have one I want to share with you this morning. I hope you like it. It's pretty deep, so play with me. Once upon a time in a small mountain village, before TV, radio, iPhones, Kindles, iPads, and other assorted entertainment, a carnival came to town. Delighted for the opportunity and the rarity to be entertained, the village folk from the PLC went down there. And they rode the rides, they petted in the petting zoo, they ate the junk food, and as they're wandering around looking at all the fun delights and sights, they come to a house of mirrors. And they go into the house of mirrors, and they're having so much fun looking at the distorted images of themselves in the mirrors. Some of them, their heads are too big for a 10-gallon hat. Some of them, their legs only look this long. Some of them, they're expanded out to a balloon. Anybody relate to that? And they're having so much fun that they stay. And they keep having fun and they stay. And they stay for days and weeks and months and years and decades and centuries and millennia. And always, always, in the corner, there's the red lit up sign that says exit. And they become afraid with what's outside the door, because they become so accustomed to the distortion in the mirrors that they're looking at that they don't want to go out there for fear of what's out there. But always the exit sign is lit up. This way is the way out. And eventually, ancient writings start turning up, and they see them in between the mirrors. And they say things like, knock on the door and it shall open. And the truth will set you free. And the ancient truths are still beckoning us to step out of the house of mirrors. So, there is only God. This is the month of image. A few weeks ago I shared with you that in the life and teachings of the Masters of the Far East, it said that the term, the phrase, that we were made in the image and likeness of God was a mistranslation. The translation is, we are the image of God. There is no God in man. There is only God. Man is a unit in and with the universe. The universe is contained within each one of us. All the potentialities of infinity and all of infinity is accessible to each one of us. We are both in and a part of the universe. So last night I was sharing upstairs a little while ago, and I won't go to that part, but I'll tell you later. My cousin called me from Texas, who I hadn't talked to in years. She's about 11 years older than I am. She had me in tears because she was reminding me of what her vision of me was as a child. And it was so sweet. You know, it was one of those gifts that we get from someone who knew us when, and you don't get those perspectives of yourself. It has to come from someone who loves you. And her husband, like I said, her husband passed away, and we were talking about the great dysfunction of my family. And so we laughed a lot at how funny all these things were. But how many of us know, first of all, and even Reverend Betty said it when she was up here, that God is love. But how many of us grow up believing that we're unlovable? How many of us are raised with parents who are wounded, and grandparents, and churches, and communities who say, you're not lovable unless you do this the way I want you to do it, unless you're a good girl or a good boy, or unless you make straight A's, or unless you do yada yada. And then you do all those things. You're the perfect child, and yet you still don't get the star at the top of your page. You still don't get to be lovable. Can we rethink this? How is that possible? How is it that we come off the apple tree, but we're not apples? And so when I was in Portugal, and I've told this story several times, I went with a Catholic pilgrimage with my stepmother, very, very Catholic. And she's a kick in the head. And she married my dad, And so I was talking to Bob, who was sitting with me, and we were getting ready to board the plane to come back to the U.S. And I said, so Bob, because they all knew, she's the religious science minister over here. I mean, like, what is she doing here in this Catholic pilgrimage? And I went because I wanted to go to Lourdes, but I said, so Bob, you believe that God is all there is? And he says, yes. And you believe we're children of God? Yes. I said, but you don't believe that we're divine? And he says, no, the only way to be divine is through Jesus and Mary. And I'm going, let me start again. Because I said, that's why Catholicism would not be something I would be attracted to, because it makes no sense. I'm really logic-based. It's got to, A plus B equals C. It's not A plus B equals Z. It's like, no. There's no middleman here. There's only God, and I'm in it. So guess what that says? We're born masters. This is one of the new epiphanies I'm having this week. We're already masters. The teachings of the Masters of the Far East says, and we have proof in our lives. Because isn't it only a master who can prove to you something that you're not? And another metaphor the Spirit gave me this week, she's so cool, is that we are Pullman, and we're standing at a place where 2 railroad tracks go off in different directions. And we are the power source, and that power is called feelings. And so if we pull the switch and our train goes to the left, it takes us to negativity. It takes us to the appearance of poverty, of bad relationships, of ill health, of those things that are really not much fun to live. If we pull the switch to the other side and we give our power to that side, we find abundance and love and prosperity and all sorts of lovely, lovely things that we much prefer to live. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. So I came across this little story on the internet, and it fits perfectly right here. You may have gotten it. I'm not sure if you have. Bear with me. It's worth sharing. 2 wolves. One evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, my son, the battle is between the 2 wolves inside of us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, resentment, guilt, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It's peace, joy, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, generosity, empathy, truth, compassion, and faith. The grandson thought about it for a minute and asked his grandfather, which wolf wins? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed.